us. We're going to start with the student athletes, and then we will jump into coach. We're just going to go right ahead into questions for them. So we will start with Paul. Why don't you get us rolling?
Yes. Hey guys, thanks for joining us today. We really appreciate it. We'll start with Sania. So you tell me your thoughts on facing the number one team in the country tomorrow.
I think our team is like really excited to be able to play such a team at a high caliber. But we're just ready to go out there. Really no nerves, just excitement of being able to play two really good games.
Maggie, can you tell me how you feel like you guys performed in your first two, and what can you do better?
Paul, that's Zoe. Are you asking Zoe?
I'm sorry, Zoe. I apologize.
Maggie. So we've got Zoi Evans and Sania Petties here with us.
I apologize.
In the first two games, I think we performed really well. I think it was our first time going out as a team competing against two good universities, and I think we all came together really well, and we were able to come out with two sweeps. I think that was really good for us.
And my last thing, and this can be for either one or both, just did you guys have any nerves in the first couple, or did you think about facing Wisconsin? Was there any talk before those matches?
I mean, we've known that we were going to play the really good team. Wisconsin was coming in, but we go in every game, one game at a time. So our first goal was to beat Michigan State and then Tulsa. So with Wisconsin coming up, I mean, we're focused on them tomorrow, but I think we were focused on those teams at the time.
And I think just what Zoe said, we're a team that sticks to playing Arkansas volleyball, and we're going to go in every match with the same respect for every single team that we're playing. We're just going to continue to play our game and let the outcome be the outcome.
Very good. Thank you, guys.
Daniel, go ahead.
Thanks for joining us tonight. I was just wondering, it's your first year here. How's Fayetteville and Arkansas treating you so far?
I absolutely love it so far. The fans are amazing, and my teammates have always been by my side since I've been here and since January. So I'm just happy to be a part of an amazing program playing next to amazing girls.
And then for both of y'all, Coach Watson has been here, at least Zoe, especially for your entire tenure. What has he meant to you as the program's gotten better?
He's meant a lot, honestly. As we gotten better, he's always believed in us, no matter what position we were in, no matter my freshman year, without making the tournament, he always believed in us no matter what. That didn't stop him from coaching us the same way. And he's just been great.
And then what are y'all expecting from the fans these 2 days?
I really hope they all come out and support us. We have a great fan base. They really, really meant a lot to us when they came out from Michigan State. So I really hope they come out and do the same thing.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Cooper, do you have anything you want to jump in?
Sure, yeah. This is for both of y'all. We had the opportunity to speak with Coach Watson after the game on Sunday, and one of the things he mentioned as an accelerated point of the game is our blocking that our team has and the role that y'all two have played and the chemistry that y'all have seen. I mean, Sania, you almost single-handedly went 3 folds more block assist on Sunday than you did Friday. It seems like you're only getting better. Can you tell me kind of how you're going into that, getting better and taking on a number one team? And that's for whoever chooses to answer, but of course, Sania especially.
Yeah, so I think blocking, we both know is a hard thing to do, but Susie, our assistant, she has been really getting on us and really working us hard with our blocking. I think that's something we're really focusing on this season, is to be one of the best at in the SEC and even in NCAA. So just, I mean, going into Wednesday's game, doing what Susie's telling us to do and just focusing on the little things that we can focus on.
Nice. Great, thank you.
Do you have any more questions for the student athletes? Anyone who does can just jump in.
I think we have a group of athletes, and we're playing a particularly nice style of volleyball, and you know, no one's gonna care if you aren't out there telling our story. And so, again, always appreciative of your efforts to share our story. And the sport of volleyball is growing. We'll witness that, I think, a little bit later this week at the University of Nebraska, who is hosting an outdoor match, looking to set a women's sporting record of over 90,000 people to watch a volleyball game. So our sport is in a tremendously good place, and I think it has some room to grow still. But with that, we had a chance to speak with ESPN yesterday, and one of the things I'll share with you that I shared with them, that there are probably 40 to 50 teams that playing college volleyball right now that should have a case to be ranked between 20 and 25. You know, there's that many good teams out there, but there's probably not that many teams that can be ranked one. And Wisconsin clearly is one, and that's because they're that good. And so this is a remarkable opportunity for our athletes. And as people have reached out to me over the last couple of days, maybe to reassure me that it was a good idea, but only growth can come from this for our program. You know, whatever happens, it's growth, and it's considerable growth given where we started and where we're at right now. That a program like Wisconsin would even consider coming to Fayetteville. So these are great opportunities. I think our athletes are energized by it. I think they're excited. You know, where maybe Barnhill has a little bit of magic still left in it, and so that would be great as well. So, but I think we're in a good place, actually, a really good place.
All right, why don't we keep the same order? We'll start with Paul, then go to Daniel and Cooper for questions.
Jason, can you just talk about, obviously you've done some scouting, and what do they present you with as far as the task in front of you?
Yeah, sizable. We'll say that. You know, they are a long team, and so with that, I think they have this ability to create their own shots that perhaps a team of our size isn't able to do quite as much, or with as much range. And so that poses some issues. You know, I mean, traditionally you would think, you know, we've got to get them out of system to score points, but even then they can go and create their own shot in that phase. I think for us, the game has to come down to a transition game. You know, can we convert the opportunities that they give us that are probably less than ideal for them? Can we convert those? And that's a big ask, of course, but that's the way we play, I think. And so we've got to be patient and we've got to be clean in that phase. And but that's the goal. And that's not an easy task. I mean, they played two really nice teams last weekend in Baylor and TCU, and they were incredibly efficient, and probably have a couple more days of practice, you know, and they're only going to get better here as they go. And so I think that's going to be an interesting thing. They're going to pressure us from the service line. I think they're a particularly good serving team. You know, I thought Tulsa did a little bit, but Michigan State probably didn't pressure us as much as, in hindsight, we would have liked in preparation for something like this. But first matches of the year, you know, strange stuff. You know, you working on everything. But yeah, they're gonna pressure us from there. So can we hold up to that? You know, that's gonna be a system that we're gonna have to be good in, and in transition have to be good in as well.
The other thing I was going to also, you kind of touched on it a bit, but from your side, you know, being a bit undersized, as we've talked about a great deal, do you feel like you guys have to put pressure on them from the service line as well?
Yeah, I mean, we felt like we've got to pressure everybody from the service line, you know, and much to the frustration of our season ticket holders, that comes with the cost of some service errors. But that's what we have to do. I mean, we ended the weekend, I think, at like 84% in, and we certainly would like to be at 90, you know, and if you take out the first night, we probably were a little closer to that. we certainly need to be able to make them play there a little bit. Yeah, being on the side, I think we offensively we're a little bit faster than them, but I think their size negates that quite a bit, and so we'll see how that matchup goes. I know we're not going to slow down, but I think with their size and their length, probably we're not going to kill it cleanly. Like it's going to just ping pong off the block a little bit more than it does some other places. So we'll see. It's hard to convince our outside hitters at times that those are good kills. They like hand to floor kind of stuff for them. But as we know, lots of ways to get kills in this game.
I'll let somebody else go. Thanks, Jason. I appreciate it.
Yeah, cheers. I appreciate it.
Daniel, go ahead.
How are you, Coach?
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you.
Yeah. I was wondering if you could. We had 4 of the top 10 teams lose, I think, opening weekend. Just how has the depth of volleyball as a whole kind of moved on since you started coaching?
Yeah, I think it's been wonderful to see the progression of college volleyball, and certainly, early in my career, I was in the Pac-10 at that point in time. And the Pac-10 had sent 3 teams to the Final Four for a number of years, and now we don't even know if the Pac-12 is going to exist soon. And so now we've seen the involvement of the Big Ten, but more importantly, I think what we've seen is this increase in talent playing volleyball across the country, and there are a number of incredibly successful and really talented coaches coaching the game, and so we've seen the level of talent increase. We're seeing the level of talent coaching increase. And we're seeing athletic departments put funding behind the sport. So it's all coming to head, with the fact that ABC is going to televise the national championship live this year. And so all of that just means that the sport's moving in a really healthy place. Locally within the SEC, it's you want to play in a conference where every match is meaningful, because then I think, you position yourself to get good and decent seeding heading into the NCAA tournament. And so the SEC is making a move, I'd say. I don't know if we're 1 or 2 or 3, but we're probably 3, maybe, Big Ten, ACC, maybe. X in there somewhere as well, the Big 12. So, yeah, it's a wonderful time to be a volleyball fan, right? It's a wonderful time to be a volleyball fan. It's a really hard time to be a volleyball coach right now because everybody's good. But it's a wonderful time to be a volleyball fan. And opening weekends are opening weekends. I always used to think the third weekend of the season was the strange one, but maybe it's the first weekend now. But we're also seeing a little carryover from, we're cycling through those athletes that have extended eligibility. I think they're having an impact on the sport still. And they've almost cycled out of the sport. But yeah, hey, what a great weekend if you're a volleyball fan. Not if you're a volleyball coach, I'm sure, but a volleyball fan. It's a great weekend.
And then I don't know if you were on here when Zoe was on here, and she talked about how much you've meant to her personally. When you hear athletes talk about it like that, what does that mean to you as a coach?
Yeah, I was on there. Probably that made it a little uncomfortable for her, but and perhaps for me too, because we don't talk like that often, right? You're just moving on to the next opponent and the next thing to get better at, and you don't often pause to reminisce here a little bit. But for Zoe in particular, she's been here 3 years and now she gets her chance, and I think that speaks to the volume of her character, and that she would hang on and continue to work hard. There's been some, I don't want to say difficult conversations, but honest conversations over those 3 years of what needs to go on, and she's taken them to heart and go. They weren't callous conversations, but they were honest conversations. But I imagine that's what most of us get into coaching for. We get measured by the wins and losses, and we understand that matrix. But I think most of us get into coaching so that we can have some kind of positive influence in the lives of our athletes, and likewise they have a positive influence in our lives as well. But Zoe's a special one. She's a genuine, good-hearted, phenomenal teammate, and it's been a joy to watch her. Put aside perhaps her own self-interest for the good of the team. I think that's a rare trait, and Zoe does it wonderfully well. So thank you for that question for her. That was kind of poignant, given that she got her first start ever on Friday, and followed it up with a nice match on Sunday. So and she's going to play in the biggest match of her life on Wednesday. So that's we'll see what happens there. We'll see what happens.
Thanks so much for your time, Coach.
I appreciate the questions. Thank you.
Cooper, go ahead.
Of course, Coach. Pleasure as always, but I'm sure, as you're well aware, Hogue was nominated Setter of the Week and, of course, won. Right? Can two questions come out of that? What were your initial thoughts when you first heard of that? And, of course, based off watching her performance and what we spoke about over this weekend. But also, what are you expecting from Hannah specifically coming out on Wednesday and Thursday?
I think my first thought was that if you want to win a Setter of the Week in the SEC, you have to play a 5-1. They don't value being in the 6-2. That's my first thought, because Hannah was this good last year, but she was in a 6-2 and only played half the time, and so it's no surprise to me that she was recognized for her performance. But and I thought she had a remarkable weekend in terms of running this pretty efficient offense, pretty clean, and things like that. So happy for her. She's a Razorback from Fort Smith, and they love their Razorbacks down there, as was evident when we had an exhibition game in Alma. Could be the first time Taylor and Jill have been pushed to the side for a setter, and so that was a nice moment for Hannah down there. But moving forward, she's got her hands full. Especially as we talked about with Paul's question, that the ability to locate and terminate in transition is not a clean phase of the game, right? It's incredibly random, incredibly stressful, and is going to become really impactful each one of those opportunities on Wednesday. And so she's the cog that's going to make that system go. We don't expect her to be perfect, right? I mean, that would be incredibly unfair for her to be perfect, but she's making great decisions in that phase. She's locating better in that phase. And so I like our chances with Hannah Hogue being able to run the floor in that phase. But there's a lot of other contributing factors to that, of course. But Courtney Jackson's going to play a significant role in that phase as well. But yeah, she's if everybody that lives in Fort Smith is like Hannah Hogue, then that's one tough town, right? That's an incredibly tough town, right? And they love to compete. And so that's what I think, they just love to compete, and she does. I know that. I know she loves to compete. And I thought that was evident on Sunday, where we were up pretty significant in set 2 against Tulsa, and there was a ball that went off to the side, and Hannah Hogue ran into the scorer's table trying to get it back, and we were up by 6, 7, 8 points or something like that. And I know Susie Fritz said, "Man, she's going to go hard no matter what the score is." And I said, "Yeah, she's from Fort Smith. Like, what do you expect? That's just what happens. Have you not been there?" And of course, she hasn't, but we'll just let her believe that everybody in Fort Smith is like Hannah Hogue, and that's not so bad for Fort Smith, I think. So,
brilliant as always, Coach. Cheers.
Maybe that's more than you wanted to know, but oh well. You logged in, so yeah. Cheers.
Any more questions for Coach Watson?
Yeah, I'll hop in real quick. Hey, Coach, thanks so much for taking the time. You've touched on this a little bit, but when you got here in 2016, did you foresee a world where the number one team would be coming to Barnhill, and how gratifying for you is that to see the growth of the program overall?
Yeah, I mean, I was just hoping to get to year 8. You know, uh, this is the SEC. It's a tough deal. And I'm just greatly appreciative for the patience that the athletic department showed in me to be able to get to this point. And so I feel indebted to repay that by trying to put the best volleyball team that we can on the floor, and I think we're slowly making that the case. But no, I didn't. I didn't, to be quite honest. And I'm quite transparent. I'm still sitting here today wondering if that's actually a good idea or not. But to play them once probably is a good idea. To play them twice seems a little silly. But in to be quite honest, and I don't want this to sound boastful, and I don't want it at all to sound arrogant. And I don't know if you've been around me enough, but you would, if you have, and I think Paul can speak to this probably, because we've known each other from the Jonesboro days. But I'd like to think that I'm a pretty humble and individual. But if SEC volleyball is to become what we all hope it to be, then we've got to go play the marquee teams in marquee conferences, and clearly Wisconsin is one. And last year we played Washington, Georgia Tech, and we have to play those teams, and we have to not be afraid to go play them. And I think our program is in a place where we don't or shouldn't be afraid to go play these teams, and the result will be the result, and it won't define us. Because there's lots more volleyball left to be played, right? And so, and so I think this is a great thing. And so when we were approached to play them twice by TV, we jumped at it because it's just a win-win for us and for our programming. As I'm being reminded by peers around the country, hey, you're all going to get better by playing the people that are good. You're going to learn a bunch about your team that you're not going to learn if you just don't go play people that are better than you. Now, you can't play everybody, right? But you're going to play at least one or two of them, and so I'm stoked, and I'm greatly appreciative of Coach Sheffield at Wisconsin. I've known him for a little while, that he would be willing to bring his team down here. Probably because they didn't have anywhere else to go, but we don't let the facts get in the way of a good story, right? We just roll with it. But yeah, it's going to be fun. It's going to be a handful, but why not, right? Why not? So.
Yeah, that's great. And you heard the student athletes speak about it. How much of a difference for you as well as the team does it make when Barnhill is rocking and the fans really pack it in there?
Yeah, it's a pretty special building. And the more we see the attendance for our matches go up, I find it incredibly difficult to believe that men's basketball once played in here. And it just seems like shocking to me that they would be here. And then it just I think how hard would it be for an opponent to come in to a full Barnhill for that sort of thing. I mean, it's mind-blowing. But I think the thing about Barnhill, more than anywhere, is just how close you can get to an athletic competition. I mean, you are right there, and I think that's unique. I don't know of any other venue on campus anyway that you can get that close anymore. And in the SEC, maybe South Carolina plays in a place where you can get that close, but yeah. So it doesn't take this could be self-defeating here. It doesn't take a lot of fans to make it a tough environment. but it would be better if there were more fans to make it an even tougher environment, and I guess what we're trying to do here is we're trying to make Razorback fans Razorback volleyball fans. And we know that there are fans out there that are going to come and support the Razorbacks no matter what sport it is. We're just going to try and convince them that that our team and our program is worth their time, and our sport is certainly something that they can enjoy, and so it's been a work in progress since I've got here, and this is a great opportunity for us to further enhance that for sure.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Coach. Appreciate the time.
Yeah, Gene, I appreciate your time.
Any more questions for Coach Watson?
Al, one more. Sorry, Coach. You do have 2 other matches this week. Have you talked to the team about kind of not looking past Wisconsin, but not making Wisconsin more than it is, just 2 games?
Yeah, Colorado State's good too. They beat Kentucky earlier this opening weekend. Another one of those weekends where, that weekend you were talking about where, some upsets occurred. But we haven't. I think one of the things about this group, and probably because they've been through this quite a bit, is that they're working really hard to just be present in the moments that they're in, and that's something that we've talked to them quite a bit about. I was a little conscious of the Wisconsin one coming up when they were promoting it Friday night before we played Tulsa. I was a little, can we pause on those promos before we get to that? But this is a pretty tough and defining stretch for us, and but we like that it's at home. But no, they're gonna move on to the next one when it's time to move on to the next one, rather than get ahead of themselves. And part of that is because the last couple of years of the SEC, we've been playing these back-to-back matches with the same opponent. So it's the same opponent, but you got to deal with the one that's in front of you before you move on to the next one. So we've had a little bit of experience with that over the last couple of years. So I think we're prepared for those moments. So, but yeah, it's a great question.
Thanks so much, Coach, as always.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Anybody else like to chime in with questions for Coach? All right. Well, thank you everyone for being here. Really appreciate it. Hoping that we see you all at Barnhill for at least some of the many matches we have this week.
Thanks
again.
Jason.
Appreciate your time. Yeah. Cheers. Appreciate your time.
You
Thank
bet.
you so much.